Welcome guys, in this video we are going to be having a look at the bass that I've created in this little track example. Let's have a listen. So you can hear and you can see these are samples, and they were made using the Knifonium bass synth. I created my own bass sequence patch. You can hear it sounds really raw, rustic. It sounds pretty nice. I've taken it out of here and in here so I can add EQ. Just a driving, rolling 16th bass. And you can say this is a sample. Take it out of the analog synth to avoid any phasey issues, because you can see here each one of these is slightly different. The wave profile is slightly different. It's not homogeneous, you know. There's differences, little phasey differences, just small differences. So I like to get it into a clean bit of audio. So you would have heard this, and then there's this one. So if I turn off or turn this up, you can hear there's a lot of good stuff in there. Noise, texture, effects as well, to create a really powerful rolling low end bass. And you can use this in whatever track you've got. You know, you could pitch it up and down to the tone of your track or to the key of your track, and you can keep it warmer or you could keep it brighter, just tailing the EQ. And it's something that you can come back to time and time again in your music. Right, so we're using the Knifonium today. You can use any other analog synth. This thing's not the easiest to use, but I use plugin alliance tools, and this is a really great kind of analog emulation kind of type synth. So I've turned off the effects and the ARP because I had them on, and I'll walk you through how this was made. So we have oscillator 1 turned up, not all the way. That's how it sounds. Everything else is left pretty much at 12 o'clock. We have filter envelope here and filter envelope settings here. So cut off down, the modulation up to create a kind of plucky bass sound, a little bit of resonance going through as well. We just enable the plus sign to send the filter to envelope 1. The envelope settings: 0 sustain, 0 release, and we have a very small decay and 0 attack. So okay, this thing here has 3 different saturation modes: trial, pentode, or saturated. We're just using pentode. Sounds really nice and warm and gives you that really great kind of grit and sound. Apart from that, there's not actually anything else really going on. You can do things with the LFO, which is pretty cool. The other thing I have done is I've added in some ring modulation, just to beef up that signal and give it a bit more harmonic and just general grit. You've got FM modulation here, but that's off. It's really, really cool, but this is probably not the music for this. Sounds a bit more like something dubstep. So that's all you need to do for this synth. Of course, last thing, white noise. You can see here you can choose between red, pink, and white. We've got white noise, we'll just dial through a little. Just adds a bit of perceived kind of stereo width without it being too stereo. It's still really bang down the middle, which I really like in this bass. So that's the dry sound. The envelope setting here is pretty simple as well. So zero attack, decay's right down. We've got sustain all the way up. Hence where you press it or depress it, continues, and release down. In terms of the effects, so let's go through the effects that I have on this. So we have some EQ, sweetening up around 100k. We have some reverb. The reverb on this is really cool because it sounds like it sounds a lot more. I don't know what the right word to describe it is, but it just sounds a lot more analog and a lot less digital than maybe you would get with a kind of reverb from Ableton. So again, just adds a bit of space and thickness to the sound, pushes it back ever so slightly. Then we've got some delay. We are using the ping pong, but we've got the filter turned up. And that modulates a little bit, which is really nice. Of course, we're getting that slight phase sound coming through from the phaser. You can hear that womp 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 just ever so slightly. Just it's an extra bit of flavour in the sound that gives it that special sauce. You can even go more a bit of flanger if you wanted to, but that's the kind of the effects on it. And then I've run it through an ARP, just 16ths. So depress 3 notes. I've told you how to do this in previous videos. But typically what I like to do is just press 3 different notes and get something that sounds good. Move as you want. You get the idea. So that's what I did here. Just recorded in some notes. This one here. You can hear with the effects and the delay it starts to get a bit wild, hence why I took it into audio pretty quickly. And in terms of the bass sound, hardly any processing because it's already got a lot of great processing inside here. You don't need much, so a bit of compression here and bass mono and kickstart. Okay, and that's basically how you make the bass. And I've recorded it into here. And voila, you have your sound. And I've taken a EQ to cut below 43 Hz to get it mixed nicely with our kick, which is very important. And I've also added more compression to the kick itself, just to keep keep the bass really tight around the kick. Um, as I've always kind of said, you want your kick and your bass to be really tight around each other. The faster you go in BPM, the kind of more tight and punchy your kick and your bass need to be around each other. If you understand where I'm coming from, this kick is really quite short. It's just a really short kick, and I've got this sidechain ducking quite hard to that kick so that it gels nicely together and doesn't kind of oversail the kick. It just sits nicely in the mix. Whoops. So there you have it. Make this bass, and I would almost just save this as a sample somewhere, and just use it in multiple different tracks. Either make it duller, make it brighter, change the pitch of the actual sample. You get the idea. It's very useful. So now I've done this and we've got a little track idea going, why don't we build this out and bring some stuff into it? So quite happy with the bass. Everything's moving nicely. We've got some percussive elements. We can maybe start thinking about the other elements that we could have in the track. Now, what we can do for speed is we could use the same bass patch, bring it up in octaves, or excuse me, up in pitch, and maybe just change the oscillator to. Just have a bit of fun. Maybe add a little bit more noise. Okay. And possibly add in a second oscillator. Yeah, let's go in with the second oscillator. Okay. What I might do is add some FM modulation here. Okay, that's sounding quite interesting, quite liking that. Take off the 100 hertz boost because we don't need that anymore. Maybe add in some flanger. Okay, so interesting enough sound. Just leave the compressor on here. Got the LFO providing some stereo movement here. So it's turned up the envelope. We've got the rate and the phase, LFO phase turned up. 100. Should get some stereo motion. And let's gonna add in. You can see there's quite a lot of low end still creeping in there. Cool. Turn the filter off for a minute. Okay, gonna turn off kickstart. This is sounding interesting. It's sounding quite metallic and quite gnarly, which I quite like. Just turning up the distortion or the feedback here. Okay, leave that on pentoned. I think I'm quite happy with that. Okay, let's have a little play around with this and see if we can get something that sounds like a stab, perhaps, with what's going on with the bass. So I'm just going to solo the bass for a minute, just to try and hone in. So let's go. And we've got the sustain all the way up, so we can create a second prolonged note. And you can hear what I was talking about before, because this is like an analog synth. You can hear it changing. And for the lead section, because we don't mind it being a little bit more chaotic, that's fine. The bass is lock steady, it's in mono, and it's locked down. So that's something to start us off with, just so we can get the sound design on this just right. It's not quite there yet, so I want to do a wee bit more work on it. Right, sounding really, really cool now. Liking that. As we bring up the cut off, it's driving pretty hard, which I'm liking. So again, it's a very simple pattern, but we can add a little bit more to it if need be. Let's just see how this is sitting. So this side chain's probably a little bit too much. Let's turn it down so we can hear that prolonged note. Ah, it's not the side chain, is it? It's because we've turned the decay all the way down. So. There we go. Nice. Let's turn off the sidechain again just to make sure. Okay. So I'm happy with the sound. It's got potential. I just want to maybe add a little bit more interest. So let's quickly go to quantize settings. Maybe go for 16ths. That pattern needs to change. I'm not happy with it, but I like the sound, so I'm just going to mess around until I get more inspiration. I'm not quite happy just yet, so let's just keep on messing around with this. So, as I say, I think the sound's alright. Just not fully happy with how it sounds. Maybe let's just go into some kind of pattern. Something like that, something chaotic, like a kind of sequence. Let's just check the. So because I've got the FM modulation, it's changing the pitch of the notes through the ARP, as you can hear. So that's a little bit confusing. So let's just go for a simple arpeggiator. Sounding a little bit trancey, but fuck it, let's just continue with it. Turn this off as 16ths, because turn this off with triplets. Cool, sounding pretty nice, especially with the send reverb over the top. Separates it. I guess we'll call this. Well, we had a lead before, but I guess it's more like a sequence now, isn't it? So. So I'm liking this sound actually, and to be honest, maybe this is the way we go with this, because when I did like what was happening with the FM. If I turn it back, I take that back. It actually works out pretty fucking well, so maybe we'll keep with this. So if we're going to go with the FM modulated version, it needs to be the one that's a consistent chord. So I do. Bring it up. Bit of rough motivation. Okay, so I guess I just went ahead and just did what I would normally do without talking through everything or talking intermittently. But hopefully that was kind of insightful and you followed what I was kind of doing. So yeah, I'll be honest, I'm pretty happy with this sequence now. So now we've got a really, really robust, quality, emotional, powerful techno sequence that sounds. It doesn't sound digital. It sounds real, analog, and kind of maybe. I mean, not saying that you can't do this with Ableton stock plugins. Absolutely, you can, and there's other guys on YouTube doing that all the time. But I guess this video is probably partly talking about the what I see as the benefits of having kind of really good quality synths like this, because it teaches you how to use them, and it's as close as having the actual synth in front of you, playing with the knobs and actually understanding how to make things work. You know. So yeah, really happy with this as a lead. Of course, we could always turn the FM mod off. And use something like this and go back to potentially the more progressive melodic sounds. And then you could possibly go down the route of having a bass that follows the melody, but it depends on what you're going for. Really, I actually probably prefer the FM modulated sound, but. But I guess at this point, once I would have the sound that I like, let's just turn it back on. I would. I would basically save this in the same way that I did for my bass sequence. So new preset. So you can see before I've just created, and you can do this in pretty much every synth, I believe. So my patch is bass synth lead classic mono. So I'll call this Techno sequence 1, and boom. So now I can jump into my synth. I don't have to think about, oh, how did I make that? You know, I just make my own preset, and then I can use this and kind of play it out however I want. So guys, we'll leave that there. As I say, we started off talking about how to create a kind of sequence bass, and we then talked about how to create your own kind of sequence. So really, this video was probably a bit about how to use kind of analog emulation synths and the sound design around them, how to create your own patches in this kind of style of hard or techno. In summary, but if you have any questions about anything that I've done, please do post below. Happy to take any questions. And of course, if you need any help with your music production, don't be shy and reach out. I can help you. That's it for just now, guys. Take care. See you next time.